agreed on. You see what I'm saying? That part of the truth. That like you got a mass of people that agree to this certain perspective, story, history. And like I said, from when we've been breaking down history is two words. His 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 the man Tory. His point of view, his perspective. So when you get to where we even document the little title of history, it comes from a skewed, biased perspective because it's only written by the people that are trying to take over or have taken over as far as the number game is concerned. So that's what I was waiting on. Because like to me, the little captain, whoever he is, soccer war, like you caught up in a emotional attachment, not something that can be proven by black and white, which is the dichotomy. I think that most of these people versus the Aboriginals, the American Indians, we have documentation, black and white, even to the back to the people that you guys are trying to claim. Some of those peoples of those ilk put our truth down in black and white. You see what I'm saying? As the people of the land, as the heirs, as the people they saw, what have you. You see what I'm saying? And that's where we get caught up because they try to catch us up in this blanket umbrella story and generalization of the historical record when we have proof, archaeological and everything of that nature that, you know what I'm saying, would show and prove that it's something to the contrary of what's popularly believed. You see what I'm saying?
I can dig it. We got Captain ChaaTaza. You want to respond to that?
It's ChaaTaza. What's happening, bro? You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to ChaaTaza, my bad. Y'all can hear you, family. Do you want to respond to that?
I didn't hear everything that he said, right? But all I want to know is how come every time we actually bring up archaeology, anthropolitical data, it's like y'all want to sweep it under the rug. I didn't get a chance to hear everything that you said earlier. I was in transit, but while I was on the move, I heard you say, "Oh, I don't care about the rocks. I don't care about this. I don't care about that." So we're just gonna, in one breath, what we're just gonna be biased with archaeology, and that's why earlier
Hey,
when we had
shot
the
this
comp,
out. Just to
Hey,
speak to your point, brother. You
get it
want
out.
to bring up the Peruvian Peru and the Peruvian
okay,
artifacts.
you
Hey,
all
Chief,
right, brother? You feeling all right?
hold on, family. Chief, let him get it out. My
Yeah,
bad.
I
Turn it up.
hey, no sweat, man. I understand. You know what I'm saying? People get excited sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But so what happens is, you know what I'm saying? Like if we're gonna talk about
Hey, you
archaeology,
in
let's
the
not just sweep it under the
matrix.
rug. Say what, bro?
Nah, you had one in the matrix. You good now, though.
Oh, okay. So if we're going to talk about archaeology, let's not be biased in the archaeology. That's why, and I'll say this and then I'll land. That's why earlier when I asked you, so the artifacts that we find amongst the natives, are you saying that they were planted there by the Sephardim? Are we saying they're facsimiles? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we saying?
No,
Because it's proven that
let's
the
say it
vast
like this.
majority of
They
them,
our
oh
our
man,
artifacts
brother.
spread to the
Hey,
Sephardim, bro.
Chief Jones, hold
Our
on, bro. He asking me, bro. Chief Jones,
Uh,
relax, bro. Because I want to make sure we get an understanding.
yeah,
All
we
right,
had a
no, so
very we had a very civil dialogue earlier, brother. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
right
Like, and
now, you
I,
ain't got to worry about that. You ain't got to worry about that over here, bro. We good.
no sweat. So I'm just gonna
come
land here
on now,
because
come on now, don't run like
uh, you
Yeah,
don't want me to finish, brother.
nah, you good. I moved him.
Okay, I appreciate it. Like, and I don't mind having the back and forth with him. You know what I'm saying? I just want the space to just land here. So what I'm saying is, it's been proven that there's more than enough artifacts that have been found that have been dated to pre-Columbian times that we find amongst the natives in their burial grounds. You know what I'm saying? Amongst more than enough areas and demographics. So it's like we could talk about specific artifacts and then their validity, because how then do you explain the pre-Columbian Hebrew Israelite presence amongst the natives? And I'll land there because I don't know if he got the discipline. But go ahead.
All right. Well, no, I'm not saying the Sephardi's planted them because there's a timeline on this when the Sephardi's come. So obviously the history is older than the presence of the Sephardi. So no, I wouldn't be saying that these artifacts are coming from Sephardi's because the timeline would match up.
So Were you
But
done
the
there, brother?
timeline, but family, the timeline will match up if the information, the technology, and the science went from the ancient first things to spread out and lift out of the water to there. That timeline would match up because the science, the sacred geometry, everything that was used to create this so-called little Israeli whatever tribe bloodline that originated here. That would explain the camaraderie and the commonality and the artifacts that you speak of. This is the first land. So then that would explain the expansion of the technology and information to create artifacts in other places, i.e., Hindustan at the same kind of area and era of
Hey,
time
hold
span.
on,
You see what
man.
I'm saying?
I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Just hold on. Let me work. Just let me work, y'all.
Well,
All right, Catz, nah, we good. You know, talk to me, brother.
all right, no sweat, because you do realize that you and him are completely divided on that stance. You know what I'm saying? That what he said completely
Why you want to
contradicts
say
the
this here?
statement that you made a moment
Negative.
ago.
Negative.
What, hold on. Hold on, bro. Yeah, correct. So I say this, family. I'm
E-
American.
e- oh, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. You cut out for a minute. Go ahead. I'm gonna mute up.
Yeah. So I'm American Indian, right? And so from most people from the American Indian paradigm, you know, 2 years ago, man, it's only one way. So I understand there's other people that come out there, that come out and have different ways to do this, but in our methodology for as BCU, it's only one way, and that's genealogy, that's bloodline. So I do want to let you know that it is a lot of things that's said from this paradigm, but that's why there's two paradigms: Aboriginal and American Indian. That's not to put down the Aboriginal side, but a lot of the claims that are not, let's say, you know, we don't subscribe to a lot of the claims that the Aboriginals subscribe to, but they are our brothers, and so
So to clarify, he takes the Aboriginal stance and you're an American Indian stance, because I'm a little bit new to your world. So I'm also not just,
not
trying to just combat. I'm trying to also understand the paradigm you're coming from.
yes, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so then you two have two different stances. So there might be some things you agree on, but you know what I'm saying. So
Right,
so
different communities.
I got you. I got you. Okay, so there's different communities on the platform right now. Like I'm an Israelite, he's an
Right,
Aboriginal,
correct.
and you're American Indian.
Right, no different than ISUBK. I'm not gonna say no other six to disrespect because I don't know who y'all ops are, but similar to that.
Okay,
Without
cause like
ideology.
okay, cause you know my man Mizak, like that's my partner in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my man's man. So it's like I've gotten my introduction to your community through him. So I haven't taken as much of a deep dive. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know how your entire paradigm works all the way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna act like I know where y'all are coming from. So when I ask questions, sometimes they're also not combative. It's because I really want to know your stance.
Now I understand. That's why I asked. You know what I'm saying? Just let me speak. Get some other brothers on the panel too. We'll get them in there. But I did, for us, the points of understanding, especially establishing that, you know, where we stand and what our message is. It might differ than a lot of other people, but I did want to let you know where we stand and where we come from. I hope
Okay,
that brought understanding.
okay, I'm with you. So you know one of the things that I want to know is because in the past, as I've talked to my man Mizak, right, he had mentioned your name a few times, and that's why I called him up and said, well, what does he want to talk about? So I, from today's dialogue, I learned a couple of points of contention, but I don't know all of them. But based off of the things that you wanted to call us out on, you know what I'm saying? I know specifically you wanted to have a conversation with Captain Zaryak, but I'm going to say us as a blanket term for ISUPK. What specifically was your point of contention that you wanted to discuss?
Um, well, the 12 tribes chart, um, Deuteronomy 28, and also the assumption of y'all basically trying to take our history here in America and take it to Israel.
Okay, I got you. See, now I understand a little bit more. And then just to clarify, right? Because I don't want to conflate your point from earlier, right? So just to make sure that I understand, you believe that the the Sephardic who came over here were oppressors, and I might be wrong on the latter part, but so then you believe that it's them through their oppression that left the imprint of Israelites on the natives?
No, sir. Nah. I think I thought I told you earlier. No, no, sir. I don't believe that. I'm saying what people are calling Hebrew or Israelite artifacts or presence in America, the indigenous population do not refer to themselves as Hebrews or Israelites. When we do see people being called Jew coming here, they actually coming here to oppress. And so that was my position. The things that we hear that they're attributing to Israelites um, associated with people who have names, nations, and identities. And I feel like the Israelite story is taken away from the American Indian plight by trying to use their story to solidify, the 12 tribes chart.
I don't really understand the take away the plight, especially because we speak about losing identity. You know what I'm saying? We speak about losing the land. We speak about, what I'm saying, reclassification. We speak about the oppression. And we do say that regardless of if this was our initial homeland, you know what I'm saying, this land would by proxy have to belong to the quote unquote North American Indians who we consider Gad and Reuben, strictly based off the fact that they touched down here first. So I think in those places we've had commonalities. But one more question, and not to muddy the waters of what I just said,
No,
but
can I ask you something?
but to give me 1 second. Let me just finish this one point. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a direct question for Top Cats. So the point of contention with Deuteronomy, just so I understand where you're coming from, you're saying that the North American Indians wouldn't fit the curses of Deuteronomy 28?
no, sir. No, sir.
No.
They do not fit the curses of
Okay.
Deuteronomy 28. No, sir, not at all.
Okay. Well, I think that would be an excellent discussion to have. But I mean, is there anything else you want to respond to, or do you want to open up the floor? It's your show. I'm just rocking with you. I'm just flowing right now.
No, I can dig it. I can dig it. I do have a question. I don't think got answered. Why don't we see the Sephardic Jews on the 12 tribes list? And if why don't we see the Sephardic Jews on the 12 tribes list?
Okay, for the same two reasons. Number one, the 12 tribe chart, right? The 12 tribes that you see is directly tailored and catered to the Western Hemisphere because that's where we are. You know what I'm saying? So now when we sat here and we investigated who these people were on this side of the world, we're taking care of our backyard first. And what we find is these people in this demographic on this side of the world is who they are. Also, because we don't conflate, like what I was explaining to you earlier, to say that all of the Sephardim were black Jews. We know that there were converts and imposters who came over there and hijacked the names of those families. So therefore, you have people who would have been from Spain who would have actually been a part of European Jewry. So we would not claim them for that notion. You know what I'm saying? Because those families were taken over and whitewashed. So as a result, the people that you would connect to at the latter time would not be related to us. You know what I'm saying? Because they are the new face, almost like how you have $5 Indians. You know what I'm saying? Like you have people who were given Indian status for $5. Now imagine if I included them in the nation. You would be like, wait a second, their pedigree doesn't go back to this tribe or that tribe. Well, it's a very similar faction when it comes down to the Sephardim.
Okay, let me ask you this question then. Are you saying that the Sephardic Jews who participated in the oppression of the Americas were not, for lack of a better word, black? Jews.
I'm saying that it wasn't as black and white to say that they were just one race, because there was even black conquistadors who came over.
Correct.
I can't. I'm sorry.
And I say I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So when you look at the political landscape of Europe, right, depending on, who reigned, it was a melting pot. It's look at America today. Colin Powell was in the American cabinet. You know what I'm saying? Presidential cabinet at one time. Condoleezza Rice. When you think of America, you think of a white supremacist nation, but there are other races who have aristocracy in America. Well, it's the same thing in Spain. So to turn around and say that every one of them would be one particular race would be false. And it's tough, especially because Spain and the whole Iberian Peninsula had Arabian conquest, African conquest. Like, it's not like, you know what I'm saying, that peninsula and that region was just ran by one ethnicity of people the entire time. So,
but
so if I could, just one last point. So in that area and in that time period, history gets a little convoluted. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't speak in totality.
okay, that's okay. That's a great answer, and I say that that's why bloodline is so important. So when I'm looking at things, I'm looking at bloodlines, I'm looking at these families, I'm looking at the migrations, because my family, I have Sephardi bloodline that came here, fought in the Revolutionary War. On their tombstones, they had the Star of David. All right. And so I found that interesting in my bloodline. And when they got here, they've been free people, large landowners, fought in the Revolutionary War. And these my direct ancestors on one side. So I'm looking at the Sephardis come here. They didn't do indentured service because they fought in the Williamite Wars. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Williamite Wars, where William of Orange overthrew his cousin King Charles. I'm not sure if you're familiar with their history, but anyway, they were given land for that. So we can track back people here who have this Jewish lineage. We didn't see the Indians practicing it. So people came here, they held their traditions and everything. For these Sephardi people who had a large presence in the colonies and had a large participation in the slave trade. So when we go to that, we know names and families. We know where they were on the maps here, whether it be up in the north, whether it be South Carolina. The Jews started coming in the 1680s, late 1680s, 86, 88. We see the Sephardis come there. All of these are melanated people. We see the Plantation Act in 1740, which was exclusively for the black Jews. Okay, so we are seeing this presence of these black Jews in history. Why aren't the Indian? And they're claiming their Jewish history. You have Kedah Bet Elohim down in South Carolina, one of the oldest synagogues down here. And so we see the heavy presence of the Jews in South Carolina at this time. We see them go up to the upper colonies with the Puritans and lived amongst the Protestants there. So we see the presence of them, and we see them colonizing. And so we see them enslaving. We see them being the ship owners. We see them, so I'm trying to figure out, is that why they got left off the 12 tribes? Are y'all like ashamed of that side of y'all history?
Because this is what I'm trying to say, right? When you go back and you look at the Jewish, and I'm saying that specifically for a reason, the Jewish, you know what I'm saying, insurance companies, you know what I'm saying, the ones who insured the cargo, so on and so forth, you're going to find out that the vast majority of them were a part of European Jewry. You know what I'm saying? So when we sit here and we talk about it, we're always going to say that they are the oppressor. Now, is that to say that there couldn't, like I told you a minute ago, there were some black conquistadors, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about to sit here and act as if, you know what I'm saying, everybody's hands would be innocent. You know, I think a lot of people who come up against the 12 tribe chart bring up the native tribes who, quote unquote, had Judites in slavery, or the ones that were hired, you know what I'm saying, to go fight other tribes. You know what I'm saying? Let's not act like there wasn't, you know what I'm saying, bad amongst, you know what I'm saying, every single nation or people who were corrupted by greed. So for you to try to put that as if we're not claiming them because of the deeds they did would be false. We wouldn't claim them because of how convoluted they are, because of how much white people hijacked the names and the legacy. And a lot of vast majority of them are actually European converts. That would
But
be our stance on it.
They did the same to the Gad, right?
They did the same. I'm sorry. They did the same with what?
They did the same thing to Gad. Gad is convoluted, and they have a lot of white people in their nation right now. Gad, the Native Americans, those aren't the real people. They convoluted, but y'all still claim those people.
Well, let me just clarify that, right? I'll use two different demographics to show you what I mean. When we say Puerto Ricans are Israelites, we're not talking about the Spanish who came over and conquered the island. We're talking about those of, you know, Taino and Arawak descendants. So we're talking about those of Negro or Indian descent. When we say North American Indians are Gadites, we're not talking about, you know what I'm saying, the $5 Indian, nor, because this is something that I found out recently, that there was actually those from Asia who were brought over and reclassified as Indians after their indentured servitude. You know what I'm saying? So we wouldn't be talking about them either. We would be talking about the actual indigenous over here, and a lot of them were even reclassified as Negro. A lot of them were given the last name Freeman, and they're walking around thinking they're African American, and really, you know what I'm saying, their descendants come from this land directly. So when we speak about the tribes, we're not talking about the oppressors that are mixed in with us. We're talking about those that are actually our kin inside of that admixture.
Okay, let me ask you this here. Do y'all claim King James as a Hebrew?
King James was most definitely a black man who was whitewashed. Now, as far as his direct ancestry, from what I find is they try to say he has Davidic ancestry on his mother's side, and they try to say that, you know what I'm saying, as far as his forefathers going all the way back to the Caldwells and the Stuarts, you know what I'm saying? Like, what they say is that their ancient lineages migrated over from the Byzantine Empire. You know what I'm saying? What I can tell you is he's definitely a black man. You know what I'm saying? Straight up and down like that. If you ever want to have that discussion, I don't have an issue with it.
Nah, I teach he a black man. I know that some Israelite camps teach that King James is a black man. I'll be honest, that was the first time that I heard that years ago from a Hebrew.
So can I ask you, are the conquistadors who took over the islands, are they black or white?
So once again, that would be like another admixture. So one of the most famous black conquistadors, you know what I'm saying, rolled with my man, oh man, what is that devil's name? He had a whole town named after him in
No,
not Cortez. What the hell is my man? They got a whole town in Puerto Rico. I don't know why my brain's frozen right now. You know what I'm saying? So what you're gonna find out. Say that again.
You're looking for one Garrido?
Yeah, the cat who rolled Ponce, the cat who rolled with Ponce de Leon.
Oh, Garrido?
Yeah, Garrido? So he had black conquistadors who rolled with him. You know what I'm saying? So you have like,
were they you think they was Jews?
I mean, it would depend on who you're speaking of. You know what I'm saying? It would depend on, you know what I'm saying, like the name, their pedigree.
You think the black conquistadors was Jews?
And that's what I'm trying to tell you. I cannot give you a definitive answer unless we're talking about, and like, you know how earlier when I brought up the artifacts, you said, well, what specific artifact? And I said, well, we could discuss specific artifacts. We would have to discuss a specific figure inside history for us to be able to learn his pedigree, would we not? Why would I agree to a blanket term?
No, I got you. That wasn't me. That was someone else actually.
Yeah, that was me.
My question. Okay. Are you familiar with Aaron Lopez?
Not off the hand. And just so you know, listen, bro. Like, I'm not biased in my studies, you know what I'm saying? And when it comes down to it, if we're going to talk about something, let's have integrity. I'm not going to turn around and try to make anybody black. I'm not going to turn around and try to make anybody an Israelite. Let's deal with what it is, not what we want it to be.
Nah, that's my game anyway, you know. So all right, so yeah, as far as the King James situation, yeah, that was my question, because I know ISUPK at one time taught that King James was a black man in the Hebrew.
Okay, we still teach that he's a black man, and like I said, they have traces of lineages on his mother's side. As far as everything with his father, from what I've researched, goes back to the Byzantine, and the vast majority of them were, okay, like it would be like a broader term with the history for me to even get into the Byzantine and how that was a black empire. But when it
No,
comes down to it,
it's a black empire to us. We teach that over here.
okay, well, it's definitely a black empire, but you have to also remember that there was marriages that they made with other races in order to secure positions of power. So if we're going to get into talking about it, we got to get into extreme specifics. So I'm not just going to turn around and just say he's directly an Israelite or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the ISUPK went back on their teaching, because
went back on what?
That King James is a Hebrew.
ISUPK has always taught that King James, it's said in his lineage that he is. I've heard accounts otherwise, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying anything that we haven't taught. And I wouldn't try to do that when your entire stage is divided between Aboriginals and Americans.
Yeah,
we do we do consistently teach the same thing. What I'm saying is, as far as you have direct evidence towards his mother's side, his father's side is in question.
Okay, no problem. So at the end of the day, just to sum it all up, is King James a Hebrew Israelite? Yes or no?
Okay, there is evidence pointing to that he is.
Just yes or no, because I want to move on. We're gonna end it at that. That's why I say we just do it.
I mean, well, you could end it there. I'm telling you that there's evidence pointing towards the fact that he is.
So okay, so I take that as a yes. Okay, so
you could take it as whatever you want it to be.
No problem. So again, are you familiar with the participation of King James in the transatlantic slave trade?
I'm familiar with, as far as the company that he started that didn't pick up directly until after, like 30 to 40 years after his death. And I am familiar with earlier on in his life when that was started, the indentured servitude that he started, for sure.
Correct. And so the lineage goes through the father, and do you believe in it? The lineage.
Yeah, you are what your father is, correct.
Okay, so his son King Charles would be a Hebrew Israelite as well. Well, he gave out the titles to Barbados.
If he was an Israelite, sure.
Correct. And so that'll make his son King Charles II, who owned the Royal African Company, who had ports in Charleston, South Carolina, is named after him. Jamestown, Virginia, is named after King James, the Hebrew Israelite. Charleston, South Carolina, is named after the Hebrew Israelite Charles II, the Black boy, who's responsible for the transatlantic slave trade that Deuteronomy 28 says are bringing over the Hebrew Israelites.
That sounds like a play.
I heard Captain Tazariak say on Swanetta that those people that were rounded up into slavery and came through the transatlantic slave trade were Hebrew Israelites. Well, we have a Hebrew Israelite King Charles II enslaving other Israelites. Again, help me with that understanding. Why are the Israelites enslaving each other?
So even if I sit here for argument's sake and agree with you, when you go inside the Bible, before we were even fully tribes, Judah as well as Simeon sold their brother Joseph into slavery into Egypt. When you read inside of Chronicles, when the northern and the southern kingdom had civil war with each other, there was a time where the northern kingdom, you understand, took thousands of captives from Judah. And the Lord said, if you don't release your brethren, he's going to destroy you. No one's ever going to turn around and act as if, you know what I'm saying? Are we going to turn around and act as if there wasn't tribes in America who made war with each other and took prisoners of war captive? Like, are we going to measure the wickedness and try to do that as some kind of way of removing someone's
I mean, we
ethnicity?
wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
Wait, hold on. No, because that's what it sounds like you're doing. What it sounds like you're doing is trying to play like, well, these were supposed to be brothers and they were evil against each other. We do evil against each other today. It's called black on black crime. We
Yeah.
do evil against each other. It's called gang violence. So
brother, but I apologize, but that wasn't the point that I was making.
that's what it. I mean, that's what it sounded like. But I didn't interrupt you. If I could have the space to finish my point in rebuttaling you. So that's exactly what it sounds like. And here's the other thing. When you go and you look at, right, the earliest people that was in indentured servitude, it was actually white folks that King James had in indentured servitude that he was transporting. The actual transatlantic slave trade wasn't just with England. The Portuguese were involved. The Dutch were involved. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at when that quote unquote company really got involved in the slave trade and started moving slaves, it was posthumously, meaning after King James's death, that they really went over into Africa and started taking our brothers and sisters and slaves. And it wasn't until the 17 and 1800s that you see them putting Gadites on slave ships and sending them to the British colonies, as well as, you know what I'm saying? I mean, shit, the conversation, I'll land here. The conversation, even when it comes down to, you know, that whole feast of Thanksgiving, you know what I'm saying? Squanto as a historical figure was said to have gone back and forth over the transatlantic. I mean, how many times? 4, 5 back and forth between America and England. So if you actually look at the history towards when that picked up, it all happened after King James died. So your point's kind of mute to me.
Okay. Well, I try to bring understanding. I first touch on the Tonto part. Tonto was an imaginary, fictitious person that was created to in this.
I didn't say Tonto, by the way.
Squanto.
What? Oh no, again, I'm sorry for interrupting. Good.
Yeah, he was created. He's a mythological character. Pocahontas. You know, these were mythical stories that was created that gave people sovereignty over the story. And so that's why when we go into the historical society who created that narrative, they are the ownership because of they are deemed a certain sovereignty because they are on the list of the Mayflower. And so that was a whole play in itself, but neither here nor there, right? So my point to that, like you said, you didn't think that'd be valid to bring up King James. You also told me that the line, you are your father. And so this line is going to go directly down into King Charles and King James II, who were directly involved in the transatlantic slave trade. So that's why I thought that point was relevant. Also, when you brought up the Portuguese, I agree. The British weren't the only one. You also had Portugal. Well, in Portugal, you had Jews. You had Jews in Portugal as well who participated in the transatlantic slave trade. We have Columbus for Spain, another Jew who you yourself called a Jew. We see him participating in the transatlantic slave trade. We do understand that there was warfare amongst the tribes here, and I know that my family, through my nation, that's all we did was fight. So we see our migration patterns from 1540 to 1763 to the top of the 1800s. You know, all the way, and we fought all the way through Texas. So now we never been ashamed to be honest and say that there was a domestic slave trade going on here that was ran by the American Indian. Matter of fact, there was nothing that went on here for as colonization that didn't involve the American Indian. So we don't stray away from that. We're only here to tell the truth. And so I'm not trying to get down on you, family, but I'm asking if we can be honest about what happened with our people, why can't the Hebrew Israelites? We've never heard this story from the Hebrew Israelites. And so I guess that's why I'm asking also, because it is a fact saying that other things that you guys are saying are not a fact. Those things may be correct, right, and exact, but there is another part of the story that's not been told, and that is that all of these European nations, we do see Jews coming out of them participating in this transatlantic slave trade.
Did you land?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's what you're conflating. I said Christopher Columbus was Jewish. I'm saying that he's a white imposter, and that those are the ones who at large are responsible for the oppression, financing the slave trade, ensuring those ships. You keep trying to conflate them as if those are our people who we claim, much like what we, it's like, imagine if I was doing that with the $5 Indians who are running casinos on the land right now. You know what I'm saying? It would be very ingenuous of me to do that, number one. Number two, when I bring up Squanto, it's because there's a real history behind it about natives who were put on slave ships and shipped to British colonies. That whether you want to call it a fiction, there's an actual historical.
That part, I agree to. Yeah, they did go into slavery in the West Indies. I agree.
So what I'm saying is, I brought that up because even if you want to say in the fictitious record, there are record of us going on ships to British colonies. And I name that because even in the famous story, they bring up him going back and forth to Britain. A lot of people don't know about the slave trade that went on inside of America. So once again, like, your point don't really make sense to me. Like, all the tribes, whether we want to sit down and talk about just quote unquote African Americans, whether we want to talk about those in the Caribbean, whether we want to talk about Aztec, Incas, Mayans, all the way on up to, you know what I'm saying, all the tribes we were discussing before, have committed atrocities and evil against each other. I mean, I think the point now is to learn from what we did and to be better. That doesn't negate the history, but to conflate Jewish imposters and make them our brothers would be a very disingenuous argument. And I would not put that on you with a $5 Indian. You should not put that on me with Jewish people who stole our identity.
All right, and brother, that's why I wouldn't do that. So what I'm saying is Columbus.
Hey, one more thing, Top Cats. I got about maybe 15, 20 more minutes before I got to roll. You know what I'm saying?
All right, no problem. So cool. I land on this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put an imposter on you. What I'm saying is that I can prove that Columbus was a black Jew. I can prove that the people that he was with. I can prove that the Jews that came out and left there, they all were niggas. And there's a trail of them in their history through the islands and also here in the Americas. And so, and I also can prove that these Jews were melanated through my own bloodline, through my grandfather that came here, that migrated here, who was a Sephardic Jew. They was converted, they hid it, where they practiced Judaism. And on their tombstone, they had a Star of David. This back in the 1800s, early 1800s too, like 1850s. So, I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying that a white boy did it, that Columbus was a white boy and he did this. I'm saying a nigga did this. Not only a black man, but a black Hebrew Israelite. That's what I'm saying. I can prove it. But we can get off of that, man. I know you got. I want to open up. Are you cool if I open up the panel? I see Mac in the building too. Mac, you want to holler?
What up, man? Yeah, I don't know. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying, for the last like 15 minutes opening it up. But just one thing. Just hey, what up, bro?
It's good, Catz. Yeah, that's my bro. I'm here to make sure y'all don't try to jump them. That's my people now.
You know,
hey,
you know what I'm saying?
You know, I'm always there, man. I'm about upholding the game, you know, and keeping it.
Listen, he about that game. I don't know if y'all can realize that from the conversation. He on one. He on his shit. I respect it. And we battle all the time. And he said I never beat him, even though I have. But that's my bro. That's my bro.
We going back and forth maybe 4 to 5 hours. You might have slipped the jab in, but you ain't went around. But
You got knocked out by the jab, bro.
yeah, we both know that's a lie, man. It's all right, man. I'm gonna let you have it. You think you on the home court right now? You know what I'm saying? But
I
the
absolutely am. I
you know what
absolutely
I'm
am.
saying? He think he got the home field advantage. But those is all Israelites. They my people. They just don't know it yet. But even to what you were saying, man, I guess we could add that to another point of
So hey, so
contention.
where's Israelites' homeland at? Where's the homeland for Israel?
Okay, do you mind if I finish landing and then I'll you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna say this and then I'll answer your question, bro. You know what I'm saying? But to what you were saying, we could add the Columbus thing into a point of contention. You know what I'm saying? My line's open if you ever want to talk about what the actual debate topic is going to be. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely open to Deuteronomy 28 and as far as what you want to discuss directly with the 12 tribe chart. To what you're saying is the Israelite homeland in antiquity would be inside of the Middle East. It's not that little dirt patch of land right now that they're trying to call Jerusalem and Palestine and all that. You know what I'm saying? So like when you actually go look at the borders of what Israel was, it encompassed that entire landmass. You know what I'm saying? We haven't been there since literally 770 AD. You know what I'm saying? Since the expulsion, and that was just for the Southern Kingdom. The
So
Northern
have you
Kingdom
been up
hasn't.
there before?
The Northern Kingdom hasn't been like it's like. Can I finish my point before you come
Yeah,
in?
let him rock out.
Okay.
Like just like because I'm gonna give you the respect of the floor, bro. When you speak, I would just
Oh, you
ask for the
good,
same
man.
level.
I got you. You good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? The Northern Kingdom hasn't been there since the Assyrian Empire. And I mean, we're talking about roughly, if I was to give an estimate, 750 BC. Now, you said, have I been where?
Nah, it's cool. It's
720.
cool.
It was 722 BC.
I
And
mean,
do
that's
you
that's that's what they say, but you know what I'm saying? Give or take a couple of years here or there.
right? And so where do you exactly think it is? Is it between the Ethiopia and the Middle East and around Morocco area?
Israel, no. Israel would board into the Mediterranean Sea, and it would be stretching anywhere from there, like the full what it was supposed to be is literally there all the way over to the Fertile Crescent. You know what I'm saying? Tigris and the Euphrates. But the areas that we directly conquered, you know what I'm saying, was a little bit of land that was west and east of the Jordan River and bordered into the Mediterranean.
All right. And were your people over there before they were here?
Our people, I just gave you the years that we were over there, and you tried to correct me and say 722 AD.
It's BC.
Whatever you said. You know what I'm saying? But you thought you were going to correct me or whatever. Good?
Yeah. I was asking so were your people there before they came here, or were they here already
Are you
when
gonna
the
ask
people
me the
arrived?
same question three times? I literally told you the dates that we were there and the dates we left.
I guess
I told you
Okay.
is that your origins? Did y'all originate there?
as far as you know what I'm saying, when we conquered and had a nation there, yeah, we were there, you know what I'm saying, prior to being inside of America. I mean, I said this
Or are you saying that y'all
seven
left
times.
America and went there, or did y'all
No,
leave
I'm
there and come
saying that
to America?
okay. So I'll try this one more time. I'll slow it down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? The brother might have comprehension skills that he's lacking. So around 722 BC is what you said. I usually, you know, round it up or down. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to tell because of the
Okay.
King's
So
List
that
over there.
right.
You don't want me to answer, brother?
I'm listening. I'm
Hey, nah,
following
just
you.
come
I'm
on, come
following.
on, come on, strong. Let him walk.
Oh,
I mean, you know, if you don't want me to answer, just let me know.
Come on, come on, come on. He on mute. He on mute. I got him on
I
mute.
appreciate it, right? So the Northern Kingdom left out in that area around, you know what I'm saying, circa 700 BC. You know what I'm saying? Went into Assyrian captivity, you know what I'm saying? And then from there made an exodus and came over to the Americas. The Southern Kingdom had gone into captivity with Babylon and then came back to Judea and was there until 70 AD. Some of them fled into West Africa and others were taken captive and brought as slaves over into Europe.
All right. So before we move on, I'm bringing in brother Yah. Did the Israelites originate in America and leave to Israel over there, or did they origins begin outside of America and they migrated here?
No, from our lens, Israelites originated on the other side of the world, and we came from the east and traveled here and made a transatlantic voyage into America. And we were, you understand, the first people who were inside of the Americas. The people that you want to claim as indigenous, we say that their initial origins, when you go far enough back, extend to ancient Israel.
And what year did they come over?
Whenever they left the Assyrian Empire, so that's around 700 BC. You know what I'm saying? Give or take a couple of years.
700 BC. So you said,
Correct.
was it people here when they got here?
No.
Okay, so the Israelites are the first to come here. Okay, all right, no problem. What's up with it, y'all? You in the building? DC, look at DC. You're on mute if you're talking, DC. You're on mute if you're talking. Okay.
Can't hear you, brother.
Nah, it's cool. He ain't here. It's all good. All right. So you say they got here and no one inhabited this land. So, okay. So how did they end up populating the whole America? If it's only how many came when they left? How many came?
So we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, about 10 tribes of Israel.
But how many people that we give me?
Oh, I can't give you a consensus.
Yeah, but it would have to be a lot though. I would have to assume that it's a lot to populate this whole entire North America, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying there was no census at the time for me to be able to tell you an exact head count.
Okay, so all right, let me ask you this: are they populating the South America, Central America, or North America?
Well, when you go and you look at, you know what I'm saying, even the migration, you can clearly see that they would have had to have landed around the Caribbean and South America, because when you look at, somebody got a hot mic, man. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the when you look at the mounds, when you look at the civilizations, it's clear, you know what I'm saying, that they expand from the southwest, and then, excuse me, from the southeast, and then head northwest, and then start to die down once you cross the Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? That's actually been one of my main arguments in order to kill the Bering Strait, because if that's the case and they want to say that all the North American Indians crossed some Siberian land bridge, then why is it that you see the pinnacle of civilizations, you know what I'm saying, southeast instead of northwest? It just wouldn't make sense, you know what I'm saying, with that type of migration.
But would these people be different? The people in, let's say, the Southwest, out west, would they be different than the people in the Southeast? Let's say.
Well, what people are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, we don't claim quote unquote Eskimos or the people that's over on Easter Island or the Hawaiians. While some people would say that those are North American Indians, we wouldn't consider them to be Israelites. It's specific tribes and demographics of people that we're talking about that, you know what I'm saying, are related to us.
Okay. So what is the first civilization did the Hebrews build up when they got to North America?
I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying, going to be, I mean, it's like debatable. You know what I'm saying? Because you got some people who try to say, because, like, I'm just going off of the arguments that you hear, you know what I'm saying, that I disagree with. I'll start there and then explain to you, you know what I'm saying? I think what it comes down to is that we've been given a lot of false histories and half-truths as far as what we've received from the reports of these civilizations. They try to say it was the Olmecs, but I found information that the Olmecs and the Mayans were more contemporary with each other. I found trade routes between Puerto Rico, Florida, the Yucatan Peninsula, and South America, you know what I'm saying, going all the way through. And you can't have trade routes and commerce without a common tongue. How would you be able to communicate? You know what I'm saying? So as far as, and here's something else too. A lot of these civilizations, that they're trying to say were against each other or were different empires, the deeper you dig, really more, especially inside of like, you know what I'm saying, like Central and you know what I'm saying, like South and North America, you start to see that not only were they contemporary, but they looked like different providences of each other. So as far as what they're trying to say belong to the Aztecs and the Mayans, a lot of it I don't necessarily agree with, because we see communication between these empires. You know what I'm saying? But the earliest empires would have had to have started, you know what I'm saying, in the Caribbean and South America, and then started to migrate up. I mean, even with what you were talking about earlier, I found a lot of migration legends concerning the Uchi and the Muskegee, and they all say that they started in Peru, moved up into Mexico, and then came up into Georgia. And that's by their own migration legends. So I would say that it would have to be somewhere in South America. As far as which one, it's up for debate because there's so much conflated history inside that area.
Well, the people, the Muskogee or the Mississippian culture, they do have ties to the Mayans, those of the Yucatan. I mean, you have Georgia, Etowah. See, what we do here, we be going to these sites. So we be having like little field trips or whatever. And we go out to these sites or whatever. Like I've been down to Mexico to the Yucatan 5 times in 1 year, you know, gathering up information and shit like that. And but I'll say this here, that's a connection between those people. So Muskogee was saying that was a direct. I heard you say Puerto Rico, Cuba, Jamaica. You also have to add in the Southeast from Florida to Georgia ports, the Delta, also Louisiana, Galveston Island down here in Texas. All of these were part of this trade route as well, which stretched through the Pacific. But that's a different conversation.
I think we agree on that point though. And like I said,
right.
You know what I'm saying? And then like I said, those same tribes you mentioned, that's why I mentioned Mexico, because there is a direct link to the Mayans. And if you go further back in some of the migration legends, they said before they even got to the Mayans, they were in Peru.
Well, yep. I'll say this here. I went down to Tulum, and
I've been there myself.
Tulum and Peru definitely have a connection. You know, those are gold ports, and those were, yeah. So I ain't gonna go too deep in it, but yeah, there's definitely
see, you know why, Top? Because you don't want to agree with me. You just want to fight. You don't want yeah.
But look, family, the information you just agreed that we agreed. So I said that's why I said it, because I was agreeing with you. We was built.
All right, I'm just making sure. I'm just testing the waters here now, but we definitely agree.
That's why I threw that in there to say, yeah. So when you look in the Muskogee language, 90% of it matches the Mayan language, the Mayan and the Toltec language.
I agree.
Or the Southeastern Indians. When we look at the artifacts that's found there, a lot of that shit they talking about come from Egypt, whether it be Horus or the Peregrine Falcon. You find that down there in Georgia, the Mississippian culture worshipped them. So when they excavated the mounds, they found motifs of what they call the Eye of Horus. You have the stories of the Birdman, the Atlanta. You have Atlanta Falcons. You have Atlanta Hawks. They worship the Peregrine Falcon. He was the Peregrine Falcon down in that region. So we, which like I say, it would be Heru. The Kemetic gods. Most of their gods are American deities. So, I mean, it just ain't no way around it. And I'm going to smack up Shaka almost on that. But,
Shaka's light work, bro.
But I like Shaka. Shaka stood up to y'all, though. Polite ain't crossed the line. Y'all hold him. But Shaka, y'all was going to have to kill him.
Nah, not at all. You wanna hear the truth? Let me tell you the truth about Shaka. Right? I'm gonna give you a little behind the scenes footage.
All right.
Before Shaka rolled up, right, when we used to speak in front of the CVS, he was on the side, and he tried to make this entrance, and you can't see it because it's behind the camera. He's facing us, but Sinetta waving him back. No, not yet. And he goes, oh, not yet. Runs back all awkward behind the wall. Comes out again. No, not yet. then he comes out. Like with Shaka, it's all a facade, bro. Like he feel like he lost his masculinity with us, so he got to act harder. When Cap smacked him up after he was in the street, the brother grew a mustache, man. Come on now.
Yeah. So who do you think are good debaters out there? Who do you think?
I'll never
some type of scholarship.
Okay, scholarship, that's tough because a lot of Reggie is a researcher.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'll never take that away from Reggie. Rob Bourne is a researcher, but you know what I'm saying? Like you'll sit there and he'll argue an oral tradition. He'll be talking to somebody who's Uchi on the stage and say, no, I read it in a book. And the Uchi is saying, nah, bro, like I am Uchi. This is what we do. And he'll disagree with the person who is that nation. You know what I'm saying? He reads. That don't make him a scholar. I think Jabari knows his lane. But the problem is he tries to step out of his lane and talk the Bible and he doesn't know it. But I will say that out of everybody, I think Reggie got a little bit more of an edge on him. But, you know what I'm saying? Jabari studies Egypt, but everywhere else he's kind of pseudo. And Polite is the ultimate soothsayer. He's smart, knows a lot of big words, but you don't know what he believes. He just attacks everyone else's belief and doesn't stand on anything. You know what I'm saying?
Like
so
Garfield. They sound like Garfield.
The Garfield does the same thing, and Garfield is pseudo to the core, brother. Like, and all he'll do is lie on you and move the goalpost.
I would buy a ticket to see that fight. You and Garfield.
Oh, I can't, bro. It's gonna be like I'm punching down on him. It's gonna be bad. Like, it's really bad.
Hey, so what's up with Aboriginal power? Would you be open to setting that back up? I mean, you put me out there with your captain. So would you be open to having a conversation?
I mean, you know, I don't have an issue with it because just to give you the background story, he came on Cross the Line and we had an open discussion. And the brother was a little bit undisciplined, seemed like he was a little nervous, you know what I'm saying? But he showed up. And you know what I'm saying? After that discussion, I was supposed to go on his platform. And Tuesday came. No call, no show. That's why I almost thought you were going to do the same thing today, but you was a man of your word. You know what I'm saying? But and since then, we never heard from him. So, I mean, if you could get him in the ring, I'm more than open to the discussion. I don't have an issue, but he's got to show up.
All right. Okay. Shit, I'm gonna make sure he get that message. If you got a message, for him. I'm gonna make sure.
I mean, yeah, the message is, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Don't waste my time, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, show up. You know what I'm saying? If you want to have the discussion, I'm open to build that bridge, bro. You know what I'm saying? But this time around, you're gonna have to bring your sources because you said a lot of things and you said you would show me Tuesday. And you never showed up that Tuesday. So, you know, hopefully this time around you don't get cold feet, brother.
All right. That's dope. All right. Hey, Believer, did you come back? DC.
I'll take one more because I'm kind of over my time right now.
All right, now.
Whoa, before y'all go too far. Peace, ChaaTaza, my homie, all day. Yo, you didn't bring up that Ohio Valley top cat, that Adena culture. Yo, skip right over that. Right? You had your brother in the chat, ChaaTaza. He was talking about languages, talking about the Yana, and there's all out in California. I'm like, what's the languages about? All right, I'm talking about the Siouan folks. That's where I descend from. We got our own origins. And our origin is from that Ohio River Valley. That got nothing to do with Top Cats, and that got nothing to do with what you talking about. We try to say we there, right there.
Hey, Mac, let me ask you something. Are you there before the Syrians kicked the Hebrews out?
We there going back to like 1,000 years before BC.
Oh, okay. So they ain't made it yet. Okay, but ChaaTaza. I mean,
in that language, you can't connect the Hebrew to that Siouan. You might be able to connect it to that Algonquin. You can't connect it to that Siouan. We got our own dialects, various ones, several, maybe hundreds.
What you say to that, ChaaTaza?
I mean, I had this conversation with him before, and
I already know. I hear how
we had this conversation. I pulled out the
I
books, and
got better understanding right now. I got better understanding right now.
you might have a better understanding, but when I brought out them books and started comparing them words, you was scratching your head.
I wasn't ready. I got better understanding. I got better understanding. Yeah, listen, my bro Catz are serious with his lane. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Catz. Don't, and everybody in the chat, don't take him lightly. He goes in. I've been around this guy for a long time.
Nah, you know, I don't take nobody lightly, man. I respect everybody, you know, because I respect. So, man, it was good building with you, man. I'm glad you came through. A lot of people don't like coming, you know, on to other people home court. You feel me? So I respect you pulled up. It was definitely a good build, and you know, we'll keep in touch. You feel me? And see if we can work out in the back.
Hey, no sweat. I'm probably gonna clip this. You know what I'm saying? Throw some of it on across the line. I definitely appreciate you having me. Appreciate you coming. Let me know if you want to do part 2 or when you're ready to negotiate what the topic will be. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we could get behind the scenes on some of the logistics, because I want to do a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you compensated and all that. And then we'll go from there. And you know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate my man, you know what I'm saying, Mizak, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, linking us together. So appreciate you having me.
All right, for sure. It's like, yeah. Shalom. And
hey, shalom, yo.